Hi, Miriam. How are you? Well, some people are accusing me of making light of this, that this was just an ordinary flu for the coronavirus. Well, that's not true. That's not what I said. I said this is a flu virus. The SARS flu, which was the bird flu, the MERS flu, and the coronavirus are of the same family of viruses. Okay, these are all influenzas. An influenza is the correct term for flu. You have thousands upon thousands of different flu viruses. Hey, Arjun, how are you? And there is no way, or I should put it this way, they have no cure for the flu virus. The normal way to handle a flu virus is to just let it run its course. Now, I'm not saying that this coronavirus or COVID-19 is your run-of-the-mill ordinary flu. No, it's a virulent flu. And that being said, the still preventive measures are the same as you would with a flu. Hi, Elazar. The same preventive measures, as you would for any flu. And that's what the CDC guidelines have put out. That's the commercials that they're advertising on TV, paid for by the government. They're all the same precautions that you would take at any time that there's a flu season. What's interesting to me, though, is that SARS, MERS, and the coronavirus have all come from one place. They've all come from one place. They started in one place. Magandang hapon, Josephine. They've all started in one place, and they all started in China. I find that interesting that the last three, to include the coronavirus, the last three viruses, the corona, MERS, and SARS, seem to have started in China. I've heard a lot of reports. Some of them are nonsense. In fact, 90% are nonsense. But I would never downplay anyone who is sick. Now, here's what you do is, and the American media, I know has advertised this. The American CDC has advertised this, and I know ABS-CBN News in the Philippines has been advertising this, is that if you're not sick, do not wear the mask. I'm going to repeat this again. If you're not sick, do not wear the mask. Well, there's a lot of important reasons for that. One, 99% of these masks that are being worn will not stop the flu virus, any flu virus, to include corona, from getting into your nose or to your mouth, because that's how it comes in. Someone coughs, someone sneezes. If it's on a surface that they've coughed and sneezed, and you put your hands on it and you rub your nose, chew your fingernails, that's how you get it. The mask itself unless you're wearing a charcoal filtered mask, will actually not do anything. In fact, if you watch a lot of people, and I have done this, is I watch what they're doing with the mask. One, the sides of the mask are not fitting flat to the face. They're a little puffed out like this. Okay, well, you've just opened up a hole for anything to get in. I've also watched where people are wearing the mask on their chin. And that's not going to do anything for you. There are some people who are just wearing it around their mask and leaving their nose out. That's not going to do anything for you. And there are people who wear full face, but they wear it all day long. Now these masks, and Eleazar, who was a emergency medical technician and greater than that, I think he's a physician's assistant by now. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to lie to you. But when you wear a mask for a long period of time, what happens is that you breathe outwardly. And when you breathe outwardly, hey, gay, tranquilo, how are you? When you breathe outwardly, you're breathing out warm, moist air. And you're breathing that into the mask, and it's not escaping out of the mask. So when you're constantly wearing the same mask all day long, for any more than 2 hours, you're creating a warm, moist environment inside the mask itself, next to your mouth and your nose, which at the same time is creating, hi Sela May, how are you? It's creating the perfect environment for all germs. That includes bacteria and viruses. This is what they thrive on, warm, moist environments. That's why they come into the body, because the body is a warm, moist environment. So when you're wearing a mask all day, guess what? You're creating that warm, moist environment inside the mask next to your mouth and nose. So these masks, unless you are sick, you do not need to wear them. The ABS-CBN News has put that on their commercials. I've seen it on other commercials. You don't need to wear the mask unless you're sick. And the only reason the masks are developed was for doctors and nurses and caregivers not to give their germs to someone else who is immune deficient, such as a cancer patient, HIV patients, even tuberculosis patients. They don't want to pass what germs they have, onto them. So that's why they wear the mask. The mask itself will not save you. Now, I know in Asia, everybody has to have a mask. Well, Chinese have been wearing them, the Japanese. It just seems like everybody, even before the coronavirus started, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, everybody wears the mask. All day long, they'll wear the same mask. And they create inside that mask this environment for which germs and disease can grow. So if you're not sick, don't wear the mask. And if you are sick, wear the mask and isolate yourself. Isolate yourself. Be smart about it. Don't go outside and walk around and other things like that if you're sick. That's not a good thing. It doesn't take a doctorate degree to figure these things out. Hi, Rose, how are you? You know, if I can just get people to understand these things, it doesn't take a kindergarten education to figure this out. If you're sick, stay home. I caught the MERS flu 3 years ago. I was out for 2.5 weeks. And let me tell you, I was sick. I felt like that I didn't know how things were going to be. Hi, Debbie, how are you? I didn't know how things were going to be. And I was sick for 2.5 weeks. Hey, Trini, how are you? You know, that MERS flu was a lot more deadly than this one we got going now. And they didn't shut the world down because of it. You know, the SARS flu was a lot more deadly than the coronavirus. But guess what? They didn't shut the world down. The Ebola scare a couple of years ago, that's something to be afraid of, because it is a hemorrhagic fever that basically causes you to hemorrhage on the inside. It basically turns your insides into jello. That Ebola, when it escaped out of the African country that it was in and came to the United States and Europe, they didn't shut the world down. They had these people isolated so fast you wouldn't believe it. That would be scary. Ebola with a 99% kill rate. That's something to be afraid of. But just because we have a virulent flu doesn't mean that we should be scared and want to run and hide and walk around with a mask. You know, when the Black Plague hit Europe back in the Middle Ages, people wore masks. They wore masks everywhere. And a third of Europe died because of it. When the Spanish flu came around, people wore masks. This was 1918, 100 years ago. And it killed 50 million throughout the world as it ran its course. And people wore masks. And that didn't stop it from happening. The best course would be to let this flu virus, and I'm really suspicious about it because it started in China. We know where the epicenter was. We know where it began. In Wuhan, China. And it hasn't done like regular flus do. They usually go in a wave. You know, it's like a wave going around the globe. You know, but this one's got me stymied because you got it in Wuhan, and it's like out of the blue, it's in Africa, and I've got video where people are talking to me and telling me, hey, you know, this is what they're doing here, and this is how they're handling it, and they can't understand how it got there. Because the Chinese are a very discriminating people. They discriminate against people. If you are foreign to China, They will discriminate against you. And they've all but closed off Africa to enter, and they're they discriminate heavily against Africans. Even if you're a white South African, they discriminate against you because you are African. So it is my thinking because of that, and I have friends who have married. Hey Russell, how are you? Marites, how are you? I have friends who are married to Chinese girls, red Chinese girls. They met them in China while they were there, either in school or had gone there, just to live a couple of years. And they've mentioned how discrimination is part of Chinese society. The Chinese believe that they are the epitome, or this is what the government tells the people, that they are the epitome of human evolution. Of course, I don't believe in human evolution, but this is what they are. Communists, therefore they are evolutionists. They believe that they are the creme de la creme. They are the cream of the crop. And everybody else is inferior to them. And that can be a whole nother subject right there. But the Chinese themselves, they discriminate against white people. They discriminate against other Asian countries. They discriminate against Russians. They discriminate against Africans, Europeans. If you're not Chinese, they will discriminate. And they discriminate within their own people. If you don't have this certain look about you, let's say the average Chinese girl is 5'5", but if you got a Chinese girl that's 5'2", she's going to be discriminated against because she's 5'2". So I doubt very seriously there was very many, if at all, Africans at Wuhan where this disease broke out. So how did the coronavirus end up in Africa? How did it end up in Iran? How did it end up in all these, in Italy? And yet, there's no explanation how it just seemed to have just jumped 3 to 4 weeks after the onset of this virus. When those who would be there at Wuhan, because this has only got like a 2 to 6 day incubation period. So within 2 to 6 days after being exposed, already you would think they would have already been sick. And I don't want to hear this, well, somebody's a carrier and is immune to it, but he's carrying the disease. No. That I don't buy at all. So I'm beginning to wonder whether or not this disease is being purposely placed in these places and infecting these different places. Because it's not moving like a normal flu virus moves. The MERS flu went through in a wave. The SARS flu pretty much started and stopped in Southeast Asia. In China, then it went down to Southeast Asia. I mean, there were millions upon millions upon millions of chickens killed. Hey, First Sergeant, how you doing? First Sergeant Nieto. So I'm beginning to wonder how it just seemed to just spring up in places where nobody had been to Wuhan, in that community, or even in that country, or in that continent. See, this is what's weird about this thing. So it's making me think, and this is conspiracy theory, this is making me think that perhaps this virus is being carried by someone to be released in that country. There is a purpose and an agenda for this. Now, if you get the coronavirus, you're not necessarily going to get pneumonia and die. If you have tuberculosis, diabetes, if you already have a taxed out immune system from some other things like cancer, and you're on chemotherapy, if you're HIV, or if you take drugs for certain conditions that you have, and one of the side effects is a reduction in your immune system. These kind of things will make you high risk. So if you are one of these people, I would be probably like any other normal flu that would come around. You take those precautions because you are at high risk of catching pneumonia. All flu viruses, whether they're the mildest to the current coronaviruses, all have the potential to cause pneumonia to the person that has it. And that's what actually is killing these people. And what's killing them is the pneumonia. And hi, Mary, how are you? And in killing them, it's still only a 2.9%. This isn't the Black Death of Europe that killed over a third of Europe. This is definitely not the Spanish flu that killed 15 million. And it really has nothing to do with anything about we have better medicine. No, because there is no cure for a flu virus at all. You just let it run its course. Now, when I caught the MERS flu a couple of years ago, I was sick. I was very sick. And but I never went to the hospital. I was diagnosed with it, and I self-isolated in my in my bedroom, and I had plenty of orange juice, or even oranges, lemons, limes, and I know in the Philippines you have what's called limoncito. It's a little bitty lime. If you don't have the money to go buy vitamin C, buy limoncitos. Because the vitamin C's are going to be expensive if you buy them in pill. But buy limoncitos. And just suck on a limoncito a day. That'll raise that. Limoncitos are very high in vitamin C. Limes, lemons, oranges, and mangoes. Tomatoes is actually a fruit. The tomato is actually a fruit. And it is also very high in vitamin C. You don't need to go to the store to buy vitamin C pills. You can get it from the fruit. Vitamin C helps build up your immune system. So if you think, you're anywhere near where any of this is going on, start eating fruit that is high in vitamin C. You can make lemonade or lemon water or lime water. You don't have to just consider the fact that you cannot go because you don't have the money, because the vitamin C pills are too expensive. So again, don't wear the mask unless you are sick, because if you wear that mask, it may not have a tight seal around your face, and when you are exhaling, you're exhaling warm, moist air. These viruses, germs, bacteria, all require warm, moist environment to survive. So when you're wearing the mask and you're breathing out, you are creating inside that mask a warm, moist environment, which is right next to your nose, right next to your mouth. The mask itself will not save you. So wearing it, if you just feel like wearing it, that's fine, but only wear it for 2 hours. And if you feel like you have to wear one all day long, well, wear one for 2 hours, throw it away, and put on another one. 2 hours. That's all you need to wear it for. Otherwise, you've defeated the whole purpose of wearing this mask. And I don't know too many people who have the money to keep going out buying mask. The mask will not save you. If you are sick, you wear a mask. You go and isolate yourself. So that's it on the coronavirus. I don't make light of it to anybody. It is classified a flu virus, just like MERS, SARS, or your weakest flu that would come around. It's still a flu virus. And if you are one of these people who are immunodeficient, if you have AIDS, if you are a cancer patient, tuberculosis, diabetes, or anything else that taxes out your immune system, then I would take precautions and avoid contact with people. Economically speaking, and I get reports. I have people that are sending me videos. I asked 50 different people from 50 different countries to send me a 5-minute video on how this lockdown is affecting them. What is the community doing about it? What are the leaders doing about it? What are your churches doing about it? Hello, Mary. How are you? And so what I did was I asked them, just send me a video, a 5-minute video, because I want to know what is going on. And they've all pretty much said the same thing. They're on lockdown. And they're out of work. That, they've been laid off. They have no job. They have no place to go work. So they're running out of food. And they say this is for the betterment of the society to lock it down. So you can die if you're one of those people who believe that the coronavirus is the end of the world plague. Well, you can either die by the coronavirus or you can die by starvation. So, is lockdown the right course? No, it's not. It's not the right course. Economically speaking, the countries are not, it's going to take them a long, long time for each country that is in lockdown. I believe every country is. That it's going to take them a long, long time to recover, if they can recover. So they're putting their own people in jeopardy. They're bringing on poverty. They are collapsing their economic structure of their country. They are putting people out of work. So people now have no money to go buy things or buy food, even that. I know that in the United States, they have highly discouraged you. If you have a house with a backyard, they have highly discouraged you for years not to have a family garden where you can grow your own vegetables. And if you live in a city, that's even more so. If you live out in the country, then you have it's not quite so bad. You can still have your family gardens. But, in the city, you can't have chickens or ducks. So you can't get eggs and you can't have poultry to eat. In your city, you can't have gardens, so you can't grow food. You are totally reliant on the market, the grocery food markets. And, Safeway, Albertsons, H-E-B, Walmart, you're totally reliant upon them. Why? Because you have allowed it to happen to you. You have allowed it to happen to you. People in the cities, and this is all over the world, people in the cities have lost what it means to survive. They wouldn't know how to grow anything except maybe marijuana. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to clean an animal they've hunted. They really don't know how to fish. They don't know what to do and how to make clothing. They don't know how to build a structure to protect themselves. They don't know anything about survival. And that's one of the things I'm glad I spent this time in the Army that I did, because I learned how to survive. I learned how to make traps. I learned how to filter water. I learned how to do all kinds of things that could help keep me alive in the absence of food. But city people, they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to survive. And they've lost it. Now, I know in the Philippines here, especially if you're in the province, almost everybody has a little family farm, even if it's just right next to the house. And it doesn't have to be very big, but they're planting eggplants, they're planting ampalaya, they're planting beans, they're planting pumpkins, watermelon. They have a little farm right there next to their house or just behind the house. And You can walk out in the jungle. Hey, Charlotte, how are you? They can walk out into the jungle and pick wild fruit, papayas and mangoes and bananas and limoncito, and you name it, they can pick it. They know which leaves to use, for healing, and they'll just pluck it right off and put it in a little bag, take it home. The Filipinos have not lost the ability to take care of themselves. 90% of them live very, according to Western terms, would be primitive. Open fire cooking. Some have gas stoves, but they still use open fire cooking in what they call a dirty kitchen. That's something you won't see here in the United States, except when somebody wants to barbecue. But the Filipinos have not lost the ability to take care of themselves. And like I said, all they have to do is, if you live in the province, you can find fruits everywhere. Wild onions, asparagus, you can find okra, and these are in a lot of these places it's growing. It's growing wild. But Americans have lost the ability to take care of themselves. The Europeans have lost the ability to take care of themselves, and you know what? There are many countries, even in Africa, where they've lost that ability also. They're now reliant on the produce market. They're reliant on that because they lost that ability to be able to plant, to forage, and to hunt. Well, they can't hunt over there anymore because almost 90% of the animals are on the endangered species list. In the Middle East, you have a few growers of wheat and barley, but there's not that many of them. When they put up the dam at where was that at? It was in the northern part of Iraq. They put up a dam, and it stopped the seasonal flooding of the Euphrates River and the Tigris. The whole area from the Euphrates River all the way up into what is now Syria and the southern part of Turkey, and all that area was called the Fertile Crescent. It was called the Fertile Crescent because of seasonal flooding, and which river silt would be placed out over the land, and it was rich in nutrients for planting. In every country, people have lost what it means to survive and to become reliant on their government or to become reliant on corporations that sell food. So who's got the power here? The government and the corporations. And they can do whatever they want to ensure you stay reliant upon them. So, through all of this and all these countries getting locked down, their economies are now beginning to crash. In the United States, they passed a bill, $2 trillion, to handle the economic impact Well, I'll guarantee you the United States does not have that kind of money. Already, they don't have that kind of money. And they will tell the Federal Reserve to print out $2 trillion bills, so to speak. But all that does, when you just print out money and you have nothing there to back it, you're going to create inflation, a hyperinflation. And people are not going to be able to afford the basics. What was it that was said in the Revelation? A measure of wheat for a day's wages. A loaf of bread for a full day's wages. So we're going to be getting to that point. And all the money in the world, if you have it, it's not going to do you any good. Because if the food isn't there, the money can't help you. All the gold, the silver, the jewelry, you can go and hawk it off all you want to. But in the long run, if the food's not there, what good is having that gold and silver and money? So that's why years ago, I started a practice, was that every time I went to the grocery store, I bought extra rice and extra beans, extra 5-pound bag of rice and a 5-pound bag of beans. And I would freeze the rice for 2 weeks. That would kill the weevil eggs. And then I would put these away. I put them away for later use, just in case. You know, there's always something could happen. You know, for example, a tractor trailer rig can hit a major electrical line and the whole city would be out of electricity, or a good portion of it. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you can start up your barbecue pit and start cooking all of your meat. Or you can start up, and then you only have a few days to eat it all, which means you're going to have to share it out to everybody so it doesn't spoil, unless you're selfish. So you're going to throw it away because you're not going to give it to nobody. Or you can start up your barbecue pit, or if you have a camp stove, put some water into a pot and start making your beans. Start making your rice. You know, you can add things to it, you know, spices to it. So, it, you know, give it a different flavor. But the point I'm making is that you can eat beans and rice. And you may hate beans and rice. But when it's all you have that you can eat because your refrigerator has been turned off for a long time and all your food is spoiled, and if that's all you got left, you're going to love beans and rice because it'll keep you alive. Now, I did this as a practice, and I've encouraged this over the years for people to do this. And they look at me like I'm an idiot. And they say, well, you're not living by faith by preparing for something. Well, no, that's actually not true. It is by faith that causes me to act and to prepare. Solomon writes in You know, and he says, consider the ant, thou sluggard. What does an ant do? Ants go out every day and they gather as much food as they can to bring it back into the mound. So when they can't go out, like if you're in a severe winter, when they can't go out, or the mound has been flooded over, you know, but they're still okay down underground, they have food. You gather what you can. Consider the ant. You gather what you can while you can, because there's going to come a time when you cannot. You know, the way this lockdown is going, they're looking at dragging this thing out for 6 to 8 months. Instead of just letting it run its course and peak and then come down within, 2 to 3 months, they're going to let it run for 8 months. And meanwhile, people, after a while, they're going to begin to question the government on why are you doing this? The normal course of things, you have to let the disease, unless it's a 90% or a 50% or even a 20% kill rate, unless it's one of those. If it's not one of those, then just let it run its course. The death rate on this coronavirus is only 2.9%. That's it. 2.9%. And those that have died have been the elderly, 65 and above, who are in poor condition. It's the very elderly who already have poor immune systems just due to their age. HIV, tuberculosis, diabetes, cancer patients, people who take drugs for a condition that they have, which the side effect lowers your immune system. People who do illegal drugs have taxed out their bodies so much that their immune system is no longer effective. These people are high risk. But the average person who is 65 years and younger, who is in good health, has no immune system problems, and has, pretty much done the right thing all their life, they're going to be okay. If you catch it, you're going to catch a pretty good flu. But there's also something else too. When you catch the virus, it starts here in your throat because that's where it first collects. Well, once you start feeling that scratchiness and your sore throat starting to get sore, start gargling with Listerine. Antiseptic. Gargle with that. Give it a good 1 to 2 minutes worth of gargling. Salty water. So pour a bunch of salt into a cup, add some water, gargle it. What salt does, it draws out moisture. Okay? It will draw out the moisture, and the virus depends on a warm, moist environment. So it will draw out the moisture, and that's what will kill the virus. Vinegar. Gargle with vinegar. If you can't put salt in water because it's going to make you gag, and gargle it. And if you don't have Listerine, you have one of these foo-foo mouthwashes, gargle with vinegar. It too will kill the virus. It may not stop it from getting into your lungs eventually, but it's going to do some damage. Now, what happens when it gets inside the lungs? Well, the body has its own immune system response. So you know that when you start coughing, what is the body trying to do? Well, first it's wrapping mucus around the virus, and then for you to cough it out. So that is what the coughing is for. So if you've ever had a bronchitis or a severe cold or even the flu, you always cough. Well, there's a reason for that. And you cough up that phlegm, which has the virus in it. So you don't want to take a cough suppressant. What you want to do is to take a cough expectorant, something that will help you cough this stuff out. Because if you don't cough it out, what happens is that mucus begins to go down into the lower parts of your lungs, and that's where you get the pneumonia. You know, this is basic knowledge. So if you catch it, you can survive it, and you will survive it if you are in relatively good health. There's only a small select few who are in poor health. They're the ones that are at high risk. So, you know, these things, watch out. Lemoncitos, lemons, limes, mangoes, tomato, any kind of fruit, and tomato is a fruit, any kind of fruit that's high in vitamin C, get some and eat. Mandarin oranges, I love them. Tangerines, I love them. You know, I can sit there and eat oranges all day. I can eat tangerines all day. Mangoes, I can eat all day. I love them. But these things are high in vitamin C. So if you cannot go to the store and purchase vitamin C tablets because they're so expensive, then these are the kind of things that you need to get. You know, it's not rocket science. So, but that's it on the coronavirus. I'm done talking about it. What I see ahead is this: economic collapse throughout the world because people are not going to work. And the government's going to decide what is essential and what is non-essential. So if you are considered non-essential at your work, or your work is considered non-essential, then you're going to be out of work. There are some companies that have added available sick time to their workers. And they can use this any way they wish, no questions asked. But there are some people, I'm sure, who are going to say, wow, this is an extra vacation time, and I'm going to call in all these days and say, I'm not coming in because you just gave me these sick time hours to give to me so that I can use. Well, that's not so smart, because if you don't have sick time available already, and then you're already using up all this, what happens when they close your store? You have then no income. So there's going to be coming throughout all of this, because the people want to panic. They're afraid. They want the government to take care of them instead of them taking care of themselves. you're going to have an economic collapse. And you're going to have a corporate takeover. Because now these corporations can all dictate the prices. They can dictate how much they're going to put out. They can dictate how little they're going to put out. You're at their mercy. And you're at the mercy of your government. Because if you now have to rely on your government to feed you, hi, sweetie Marie, if you have to rely on your government to feed you, and all the government has to say is, hey, by the way, we're giving you this. Now you got to do something for us. You know, those Christians, I don't like them. And we want to kind of get them out of the picture. So if you see any of them gathering together, just give us a notice. That's how it starts, folks. That's how persecution starts. Because they will try to remove the non-essentials from society. And guess what, America? You don't want those sanctuary cities, right? Well, by golly, you know, this is the United States, and, you know, we just don't want any people here, you know, illegally. And I can understand that. You know, there are laws. People need to follow the laws. Coming into the country, living in the country, you know what? There are laws. And we should obey those laws. But by voting out sanctuary cities, you know, and Israel had sanctuary cities. That was put in place by God. There will be certain sanctuary cities throughout the land of Israel that if someone had committed a crime, if they can make it to there, you know, they cannot be killed for their crime. But if they leave the city, that's on them. And, you know, that's the way it is. That's on them. They get caught. And, you know, if it's a blood feud, well, hate to be him. But the idea of the sanctuary cities, we voted, I believe we voted in America, was no more sanctuary cities. And a lot of them were Christians that voted on that. And in so doing, you kind of shot your own self in the foot, didn't you? Because now you have no place to go. What a better way for this system, this one world government to come into effect, to collapse the countries, ruin them economically by a false flag coronavirus pandemic. Collapse the countries, take over the infrastructure, and then get rid of the undesirables. And then submit your country to the one world leadership. Now, there is nothing in Scripture that says that the Antichrist actually creates a one world government. That's not what it says. What it says is that he rises out. He subdues 3 kingdoms, and these are probably ones that disagreed with him. And he subdues 3, but the other 10 cast their crowns at him, and he becomes the leader. So what it tells me is that there's originally going to be a 13-nation one world system. In other words, 13 nations will run the entire world. They'll probably do it out of the UN. Or they may set up another place, maybe in Brussels, Belgium or something. But the one world government could already well be in place before the Antichrist shows up. It could already be functioning. Have its already police force. Getting rid of all of its undesirables. Long before the Antichrist shows up. You know, the other thing is we know there has to be a third temple built. Or at least the nation of Israel as a whole goes back to the sacrificial system. Whether it's a tabernacle type thing, like they had in the wilderness, or whether it's a new temple. They will have already had that going, and the daily oblations or the daily sacrifices are already going on. It doesn't have to be done during the first 3 years of Jacob's trouble. It could have started long before then. I've often wondered how this world will get into this kind of thing. And I'm looking at this coronavirus pandemic thing. They're scaring the daylight. The media is just scaring the daylights out of people. I don't even, you know, I quit watching CNN, MSNBC, CBS, NBC, ABC. And sometimes I don't even like Fox. Because all they're doing is just trying to scare you. They want you focused. They want you focused on this coronavirus. So why is that? Well, look around. What's going on? They're locking down your country. They're locking down your cities. They're telling you don't gather in groups of 10, for example. They've are now limiting what's in the markets, so you have less to get. You know, there is no problem really with toilet paper. In America, everybody panic bought toilet paper. I guess it's for all the panic buying of the food they did. But they panic bought toilet paper. Well, I talk to people. So I ask, hey, in your distribution centers in the United States, are you out of toilet paper over there? And they said no. They're just not getting it out to the stores. There's no shortage of toilet paper. There's no shortage of food. You know, if you go shop at a Walmart, they can bring trucks in 3 times a day if they want to. But they don't. There's no shortage of food. There's no shortage of toilet paper and paper towels. It's all still there. It's just they're not giving it out to the stores. Partly because you have really dumb people out there snagging it all up in a selfish buy and forgetting that there are people who need this stuff. Like daycares. They need toilet paper. They need food for the kids. They need diapers. They need, baby wipes. They need hand sanitizers. These are required for them to have in order for them to stay open. But you got very selfish people out there who, hi Nika, how are you? They got selfish people out there who have panic bought everything out. And the nursing homes, the daycare people, they're going to have to close their doors because they can't get what they need to stay open. So if you're one of those panic buyers that went out and selfishly bought everything out of the store, I really hope that you would consider giving some of this stuff away to the nursing homes and to the daycare centers. They need it to stay open because they take care of your children. They take care of your children. And when you take away from them to continue to stay open, they can no longer no longer watch your children. And if they can no longer watch your children, that means A, mom has to stay home, or B, dad has to stay home, or if it's a single parent, they have to stay home to take care of their own children. Guess what? That means no work. No work means no money to be able to go and get the things you need. So, all these people that panic bought everything, you know what? Give it up. Give it up. Do the right thing. Jesus said, if you give, it will be given back to you. Shake down, pressed together, and running over. The windows of heaven will be opened up to you if you give with a cheerful heart. It's these kind of things that we need to do. So again, the coronavirus is a flu virus. It is a virulent flu, yes. So that's number one. Number two, the mask will not save you. The mask will not save you. In fact, it can do you more harm. Because when you exhale, you're breathing out warm, moist air back into the back of the mask that's close to your mouth and nose. Warm, moist air becomes a breeding ground for germs, viruses, and bacteria. And guess what? It's right there by your mouth and nose. These masks are not always fitted correctly. You can see openings here on the sides where the air comes in. Guess what? That mask is not going to help you. If you have a particle mask, such as, a mask that carpenters or sheetrock workers or painters and stuff like that would use, that mask will not help you at all for any reason. Because the weave is much too large. The coronavirus is at 0.05 microns. And those masks are designed to just stop big particulate matter from getting into your nose and mouth. The best kind of mask I've ever seen in my life is an M17A1 protective mask. And that's the one used by the military. That is the best protective mask you'll ever see. Also, guys, if you are wearing a mask, think about this. you better be clean shaven. Because if you got a hairy face and you're wearing this mask, that little bugger will get right in between the hairs and the mask. Right into your mouth. So, number one, the coronavirus is classified a flu virus. It is a virulent flu. So it's not like your, small flu where you're sick like 24 hours or 48 hours. No, it'll make you sick for a week or two. I had the MERS virus, I know. I was sick for 2.5 weeks. It is a flu virus. The precautions for it are typical, normal flu virus precautions. The mask will not save you. The mask is not designed to protect you. It's designed to protect the person who has immune problems from catching your germs. That's what it's designed for. It is not designed to be worn all day. 2 hours maximum. Then you have to take it off because that mask is then already compromised. Throw it away. If you're not sick, you don't need the mask. If you are sick, yeah, you might want to wear the mask and isolate yourself at home. Don't let anyone near you. Vitamin C, and I don't mean by pill form. I mean limoncito, oranges, lemons, limes, mangoes, tomato, because tomato is technically a fruit, are all high in vitamin C. And there are other fruits out there that you can get also that have other vitamins in them that help out. Papaya, guava, jackfruit, dragon fruit, plums, pears, apples. Fruit is going to be the key to this because it's going to help boost your immune system. If you start exhibiting the symptoms of coronavirus, you'll notice it'll be in the throat. You'll have a sore throat and it'll hurt, almost start to hurt to talk. May even hurt to eat. It's almost like catching a strep throat. I guess it's the way that they describe it. If you start feeling it in your throat, have a good antiseptic mouthwash, like Listerine if you have it. And gargle for a good 1 to 2 minutes. I mean, put that Listerine, gargle it down as low as you can get it. That will kill the virus. Extremely salty water. So you get a glass of warm water, you put a whole bunch of salt into it. You put a whole bunch of salt into it, mix it up real good, and gargle that. The salt will kill the virus because it'll draw the moisture out of the virus. And that'll kill the virus. Again, 1 to 2 minutes, warm soapy water. The other one is vinegar. Vinegar, it will change the alkali of your body from acidic to non-acidic. So take a big glass of vinegar and gargle that for 1 or 2 minutes. That will also kill the virus. Now you may not get the ones that are down further, and they may actually get into the upper part of your lungs. If you start coughing, don't take a cough suppressant. Take a cough expectorant. A cough expectorant helps you cough out because the body's own immune response is it's going to put mucus all around that virus. And it is the body's trying to cough it back out in phlegm, in the phlegm. So don't cough it up and then swallow it. That's gross. Cough it up and spit it out. You know, because if you don't, that mucus will start to come down further into your lungs and start pooling in your lungs, and that's what's called pneumonia. So that's what, that's basically it. Watch for economic collapses of your country. Taiwan, I would watch out for China. They'll come after you. The Philippines, Singapore, China's going to come after you. China can't even feed its people. They need the rice fields in the Philippines. And it's a good strategic point. Always has been. They're going to come after you. And if the Red Chinese show up at your doorstep in the Philippines, your country's toast. Because they are a very discriminating people. The Chinese, by nature, are very discriminating. I'm not talking about Taiwan. Taiwan is a multinational country. They get an influx of people from around the world. But China itself, they teach their own people in China that they are the cream of the cream. They are at the top, everybody else is down here. They, in particular, are very discriminatory to anyone from Africa. It doesn't matter if you're white South African. If you come from Africa, you're going to be discriminated against very heavily. So in the Philippines, you will be discriminated against also. And they will probably capture a lot of the women and send them back to mainland China. For all the millions of boys that were born because they murdered the girls because they were only allowed one child per family for many, many years. So now you got boys and no girls. So that's probably what's going to happen. I can see that happening. Japan will get caught in it. Economic collapse, which is the distress of nations that Jesus talked about in Matthew 24. Wars, rumors of wars. He's talked about it. Nobody listens. Earthquakes in various places. He's talked about it. Nobody listens. Pestilence. He's talked about it. That's what this is. This is a pestilence. Nobody's listening. They're not listening to what he's saying and where we are in our timeline. So that's what you have to consider. The world doesn't know Jesus. The world doesn't know Jesus. And probably less than 10% will go in the rapture. Because the world doesn't want Jesus. The big corporations don't want him. The governments don't want him. Because they want the power. And they're not going to give it to anyone. The one world government can easily be formed within the next year without the Antichrist being there. And there's nothing in Scripture that says that the Antichrist is the one who forms it. It says he rises up out of it. The beast system is already here. At any time, the Jews could start their sacrificial system. All they got to do is make a tabernacle. Start it up. So, we're there. But we still got a little ways to go. But I think some people are beginning to wake up. Even non-believers are starting to wake up. They're going, wait a minute, this lockdown is nonsense. You don't need to lock us down. And I could see that there's probably going to be some internal fighting in many countries. Because true freedom and liberty, as far as what goes on here in this world, is the ability to come and go, to own property, to amass wealth if you want wealth. The opportunities are there. When you have liberty and freedom, you have to also have responsibility. Because if you want to keep your liberty and freedom, you have to be able to defend someone else's liberty and freedom, whether or not you agree with them. Because the moment that you start to take away someone else's freedom, yours are going to be taken away. So, I look at a loss of freedom coming. We already have it. I forget who was an American forefather who said, those that would give up their liberty for the sake of safety do not deserve either one of them. So if you want to give up your liberties for the sake of safety, you don't deserve liberty. And you don't deserve safety. So we are there. We're at the cusp, we are so close. And we still got a few years still left to go. Well, hello from Nairobi, Kenya. I don't know if I can pronounce your name. Fiona Fifi Anwar. In Jesus Christ is true liberty. Because they can confine your body. They can isolate you out. They can even kill your body. But they can't kill your soul. For a person who's in Christ, you have nothing to worry about. They can do whatever they want to. And let me say this. In the circumstances and the situations that are now coming, don't panic. Don't be afraid. Handle it with grace. The Christians in the early first century church were thrown to the lions, boiled in oil, pulled apart, skinned alive, tortured beyond belief. And that's going to come back. Each and every one of us. But they handled it with grace. And in so doing, their death brought conversion to others. Because they saw what was happening. They saw how the early Christians handled it. And handled it with grace. So we got to take this and handle it with grace. And don't accuse people of being the ones who have brought on the flu, this coronavirus. Don't discriminate against them if they have caught it. But treat them with grace and love as only can come through Jesus Christ. Good night. God bless you. Or good day, wherever you are. God bless you. And remember, Jesus Christ is King. He is the Lord of Lords. He is the Prince of Peace. He is our counselor. He is the mighty God. He is the everlasting Father. We have nothing to be afraid of. So I'm going to say good night to those who are at night, and good afternoon to those who are in the day, or good early morning, or good early evening. Bye. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.